Do you know how old Jesus was at the time of his crucifixion? He was 33 years old. Interestingly enough, the human body also has 33 vertebrae, which is a very interesting parallel, as you will see in this video. In the context of esoteric teachings, particularly those concerning Gnostic teachings, and motives such as the coiled serpent, the figure of Jesus Christ emerges not just as a religious icon, but as a profound symbol of spiritual alchemy and inner transformation. Jesus' life and teachings, when viewed through the lens of ancient wisdom, offer a rich tapestry of metaphors and allegories that speak to the journey of spiritual awakening. Jesus' journey can be seen as an allegorical map of the spiritual path, an initiation into the mysteries of higher consciousness. His birth, life, death, and resurrection are not merely historical events, but powerful symbols of the phases in spiritual alchemy, the transmutation of base human nature into a divine, enlightened state. The birth and early life of Jesus, especially when interpreted through the lens of esoteric teachings, are rich with symbolic meaning, offering deep insights into the journey of spiritual awakening. The choice of Bethlehem, translated as the house of bread, for Jesus' birthplace is highly symbolic. Bread, a fundamental sustenance for life, can be seen as a metaphor for the physical body and material existence. In this context, Bethlehem becomes a symbol for the material world. The birth of Jesus in Bethlehem signifies the incarnation of the divine spirit into the physical realm. It represents the entry of a higher spiritual consciousness into the human condition, embodied within the limitations and possibilities of physical form. This act of divine incarnation is a central tenet in many spiritual paths. It suggests that the material world is not merely a place of exile or suffering, but a realm where the divine can manifest and be experienced. Jesus' birth symbolizes the possibility of the divine spirit or higher consciousness being realized and expressed within the confines of human existence. The early life of Jesus, which remains largely unchronicled in the canonical Gospels, is often seen as the period of latent spiritual energy. This phase can be likened to the Kundalini energy in Eastern traditions, which remains coiled and dormant at the base of the spine until it is awakened. Just as Jesus' early years were a time of growth and development in obscurity, the spiritual energy within each individual is often latent, awaiting activation and realization. This period of hidden growth is crucial in the spiritual journey. It represents a time of preparation, where the foundations of one's spiritual life are laid in the depths of one's being. It is a time of unseen development, where the potential for spiritual awakening is nurtured and cultivated, often unbeknownst to the external world. The hidden years of Jesus' life can also be seen as a metaphor for the preparatory work that every individual must undertake on their spiritual path, before one can manifest spiritual wisdom and power. As Jesus later did in his ministry, there is often a long period of quiet growth, learning, and internal transformation. This phase is essential for building the strength, character, and depth of understanding necessary for the challenges and responsibilities of a spiritually awakened life. Jesus' early years, though veiled in mystery, thus become a mirror for our own spiritual journey, reminding us of the silent, unseen, yet crucial process of growth that precedes the awakening of our full spiritual potential. The events of Jesus' baptism by John the Baptist and his subsequent temptation in the desert are laden with deep esoteric symbolism, particularly when viewed through the lens of spiritual awakening. And the journey of the coiled serpent, or Kundalini energy. Jesus' baptism in the Jordan River is a pivotal moment that marks the commencement of his public ministry and symbolizes the awakening of spiritual consciousness. In many spiritual traditions, water is a symbol of purification and renewal. The act of being submerged and rising again is akin to a rebirth, signifying the cleansing of the old and the emergence of a new, spiritually awakened self. In the context of Kundalini and esoteric teachings, the Jordan River can be seen as representing the central channel, Sushumna, through which the Kundalini energy ascends. John the Baptist, as the one who baptizes Jesus, could symbolize the triggering mechanism or spiritual catalyst that initiates the awakening of this dormant spiritual energy. The descent of the Holy Spirit upon Jesus as he emerges from the water marks the activation of higher consciousness, the uncoiling of the serpent energy that lies at the base of the human spiritual anatomy. Following his baptism, Jesus retreats to the desert, where he fasts for 40 days and is tempted by Satan. This part of his journey is emblematic of the inner struggle that often follows an initial spiritual awakening. The desert, a barren and isolated place, represents the internal landscape, where one confronts their own ego, desires, and the various aspects of the lower self. The temptations that Jesus faces are symbolic of the challenges that confront anyone on the path to spiritual enlightenment. These include the lure of using spiritual powers for personal gain, turning stones into bread, the temptation of ego and pride, throwing oneself from the pinnacle of the temple, and the allure of worldly power and glory, all the kingdoms of the world. Each of these temptations represents a different facet of the lower nature that must be overcome for true spiritual progression. The number 40, significant in many spiritual traditions, often symbolizes a period of testing, purification, and preparation. In this context, Jesus' 40 days in the desert can be seen as a metaphor for the time, an effort required to purify oneself and achieve mastery over the lower aspects of being. Jesus' victory over these temptations signifies the mastery over the lower self. In the journey of Kundalini awakening, this phase is crucial. The rising energy must navigate through the various chakras, each presenting its own challenges and temptations. Mastery over these temptations is essential for the energy to continue its ascent towards higher consciousness. In essence, the baptism and temptation of Jesus illustrate an archetypal journey of spiritual transformation. This journey begins with an awakening, baptism, and proceeds through a phase of inner struggle and purification, temptation in the desert. It's a process of shedding the old, ego-bound self and embracing a higher, more spiritually attuned way of being. Jesus' experiences in these events offer profound insights into the path of spiritual evolution, reflecting the universal challenges and triumphs encountered on the journey towards enlightenment. The public ministry of Jesus, marked by his teachings, parables, and miracles, represents a significant phase in the allegorical journey of spiritual awakening. This period can be viewed as the active phase of spiritual work, where the lessons learned and the inner transformations experienced begin to manifest outwardly in the form of teachings and actions. Jesus' teachings, often delivered in the form of parables, are profound in their simplicity and depth. Parables, by their very nature, are a means of conveying deep spiritual truths in a manner that is accessible yet layered with meaning. They require contemplation and insight to unravel, much like the process of spiritual enlightenment itself. Each parable, whether it be the prodigal son, the Good Samaritan, or the sower, can be seen as an allegorical representation of different stages or aspects of the spiritual journey. They address themes such as forgiveness, compassion, love, judgment, and perseverance, which are essential qualities on the path of spiritual growth. These teachings guide the seeker in navigating the complexities of life, while maintaining a focus on spiritual principles. The miracles of Jesus are another critical aspect of his ministry. In esoteric terms, these miracles can be interpreted as manifestations of a higher state of consciousness that transcend the ordinary laws of physical reality. They are symbolic of the potential that lies within each person to transcend their limitations and to manifest their divine nature. These miracles, such as healing the sick, walking on water, or feeding the multitudes, are not just acts of divine intervention, but also serve as metaphors for the transformative power of awakened consciousness. They illustrate the capacity to bring about change in oneself and the world, not through physical might, but through spiritual power. Some esoteric interpretations take Jesus walking on water as a symbol for the brain and the cerebrospinal fluid. In many spiritual traditions, water is a symbol for consciousness and the subconscious mind. The act of walking on water can be seen as a metaphor for mastering or transcending the fluctuating states of the mind and emotions. It represents a state of elevated consciousness where one has control over the subconscious depths. The ministry of Jesus reflects the awakening of higher faculties within the self. As the Kundalini energy rises and activates different chakras, new spiritual capabilities emerge. These include greater intuition, empathy, healing abilities, and a deeper understanding of the universal laws. Jesus' ministry exemplifies how these faculties can be used in service of others, guiding and uplifting them on their spiritual path. In his role as a teacher, Jesus embodies the archetype of the spiritual guide or guru. He not only imparts wisdom but also ignites the spark of realization in others. His interactions with his disciples and the masses demonstrate the teacher-student dynamic, where spiritual truths are not just taught, but are also awakened within the student. The public ministry of Jesus offers a model for spiritual living. It shows how an awakened individual operates in the world, not as an ascetic removed from society, but as an active participant in it, using their spiritual insights for the betterment of others. His life during this phase teaches that true spiritual awakening is not an escape from the world, but a deeper engagement with it, guided by compassion, wisdom, and an understanding of the interconnectedness of all life. This period of Jesus' life serves as an inspiration for those on the spiritual path, demonstrating how inner transformations are expressed through loving service, teaching, and the embodiment of spiritual principles in everyday life. The crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ hold deep symbolic significance within the framework of spiritual awakening and the journey of the coiled serpent or Kundalini. These events, particularly when viewed through an esoteric lens, transcend their historical and religious connotations, unfolding as profound metaphors for the death and transcendence of the ego and the subsequent realization of a higher state of consciousness. The crucifixion of Jesus at Golgotha, which translates to the place of the skull, is laden with symbolism. In esoteric teachings, the skull often represents the seat of the ego and the mind's attachment to material reality. The act of crucifixion, therefore, can be interpreted as the subjugation and ultimate surrender of the ego self. I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, John 14:6. This surrender is not a defeat, but a necessary dissolution for spiritual rebirth. In the journey of Kundalini awakening, as the energy ascends to the higher chakras, there is a metaphorical death that occurs. The death of old identities, beliefs, and attachments that bind one to a lower state of consciousness. The crucifixion symbolizes this pivotal moment of letting go, a deep release that paves the way for spiritual rebirth and enlightenment. Like mentioned in the introduction of this video, Jesus is traditionally believed to have been crucified at the age of 33. This specific age holds significant esoteric significance when paralleled with the human spine, which is composed of 33 vertebrae. In many mystical traditions, the spine is viewed as the channel through which spiritual energy, particularly the Kundalini, ascends from the base to the higher consciousness centers in the head. The number 33, therefore, becomes a powerful symbol of this spiritual journey. Each vertebra can be seen as a step or stage in the ascent of spiritual energy, leading to the eventual awakening and enlightenment at the culmination of this path. In this context, Jesus' life and his ascension at the age of 33 mirror the journey of the Kundalini energy, as it travels through the 33 segments of the spine, activating higher levels of consciousness. The age of 33 as the time of Jesus' crucifixion can also be interpreted as the point where the spiritual journey intersects with the physical realm. This intersection symbolizes the moment when spiritual realization has a profound impact on the physical existence, leading to a transformation that transcends the limitations of the material world. In the human body, the spine is not only a physical structure, but also a channel for spiritual energy. The journey of this energy through the 33 vertebrae represents the integration and alignment of the physical and spiritual aspects of our being. The culmination of this journey at the age of 33, as symbolized by Jesus' crucifixion, signifies the ultimate surrender of the ego and the awakening of a higher, Christ-like consciousness. Following this symbolism, the resurrection can be seen as a transcendence beyond these 33 steps, representing a state of consciousness that goes beyond the limitations of both the physical body and the linear progression of spiritual development. It symbolizes an entry into a new realm of being, where the dualities of life and death, physical and spiritual, are transcended. Jesus is reborn. The resurrection of Jesus is one of the most powerful symbols in Christian theology, and it holds equally profound esoteric meaning. It represents the triumph of the spiritual over the material, the awakening of higher consciousness, and the realization of Christ consciousness. This state is characterized by a profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all life, unconditional love, and a transcendent peace that surpasses ordinary human experience. In the context of Kundalini, the resurrection can be likened to the energy reaching the crown chakra, symbolizing the full awakening and alignment with the divine. This moment is not just a return to life as it was, but a complete transformation into a new, enlightened state of being. It is the point where the individual transcends physical and egoic limitations, experiencing a profound unity with all existence. The resurrection also signifies the transcendence of physical limitations. In many spiritual traditions, the body is viewed not just as a vessel for the soul, but as a microcosm of the universe. The resurrection of Jesus illustrates the potential for the body to be transformed and transcended through spiritual awakening. It is a powerful affirmation that life, in its deepest sense, is not bound by physical mortality. While rooted in Christian theology, the symbolism of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection transcends religious boundaries, offering universal insights into the journey of spiritual awakening. It provides a narrative framework for understanding the process of transcending the ego, undergoing profound inner transformation, and emerging into a state of higher consciousness. In essence, the life of Jesus Christ, as portrayed in these texts, serves not only as a spiritual blueprint for individual transformation, but also as a universal paradigm of the human potential for awakening and transcendence. His story, rich in symbols and allegories, guides us on a path of inner transformation, leading towards the realization of our highest spiritual potential. This journey, reflective of the mystical path in many traditions, remains as relevant and inspiring today as it has been through the centuries, offering insights and guidance for anyone on the path of spiritual discovery and awakening.